In order to continue our cognitive load journey, we have to take a bit of a diversion. I'd like to tell you a story about Timmy. Now, as a child, Timmy had a dog, and from a very young age, he developed this concept, a schema, of what a dog is. And at about a year and a half old, Timmy pointed to the dog and said, "Doggy." Timmy knew, for example, that a dog had a big tongue. Timmy knew that dogs are furry and the fur was often all over the house. Timmy knew that the dog liked his broccoli. And Timmy knew that dogs had tails. His tail, his dog's tail, was constantly whacking him in the face. And so he had this schema or mental model of a dog. And this schema was transferred from his long-term memory to his working memory whenever he needed it. Fast forward, in the spring, his mom takes him to the zoo for the very first time. He's around 2 years old. And they're walking and they encounter an animal. The animal has 4 legs and a tail and fur. And so based on the retrieval of his schema from his long-term memory for a dog, he looks at it, compares it. So, yep, 4 legs, fur, tail. He points to the animal and says, "Doggy." His mom says, "No, Timmy, that's not a dog, that's a tiger. Do you notice how the tiger has black and orange stripes? And it's much bigger than our dog." So he tucks his dog schema away and he creates a new schema for a tiger. And he says, okay, tigers are bigger than dogs and they have orange and black stripes. So he tucks that into his long-term memory. Timmy and his mom keep walking and they come to another animal and something that looks like a safari. And the animal is a little bit smaller than the tiger, but it does have stripes, 4 legs, a tail, and fur. And so he retrieves the schema of what he just saw as a tiger. He compares it, 4 legs, fur, tail, stripes. He points to it and says, "Tiger." And his mom says, "No, Timmy, that's not a tiger, that's a zebra. Notice how it's black and white instead of orange and white? And it's a little bit smaller than a tiger." And so he tucks his tiger schema back in his long-term memory, and he creates a new schema for a zebra. And he says, okay, a zebra is black and white and not orange and white. A zebra is a little bit smaller than a tiger, but a little bit bigger than a dog. It also has fur and a tail and a tongue. And so he now has this schema of a zebra, and he tucks it back in his long-term memory. And that happens throughout their entire visit to the zoo. Now, going back to his schema of his dog, this schema grows over the years based on his own experiences. So, for example, he learns what it's like to get a puppy. That adds to his dog schema. He learns what it's like to train a dog. He learns what it's like to lose a dog. And so he has all these experiences specific to a dog that are all balled together and they're stored in his long-term memory as a schema. In fact, we all store everything, all concepts, in our long-term memory in these things called schema or schemata, plural. Think of them like file folders in a file cabinet. So in our long-term memory, there's this file cabinet. Each schema has its own folder. And every time we encounter an experience, we examine the schema and say, okay, does this fit into what I already know? Do I add to it? So if I add to it, I'm assimilating the new information into the existing schema. Or in some cases, like with the zebra and the tiger, we created an entirely new schema, which happens as well. What I find fascinating about learning is that each and every person's schema is unique to their own experiences, but not only their own experiences, but their perceptions of those experiences. Schema are kind of like fingerprints and snowflakes, totally unique. And so 2 people could have the exact same set of experiences and they would walk away with 2 different schema formations as a result. If you'd like to learn more information about schema and schema formation, you can do one of 2 things. You can Google, and you'll find a ton of information that comes up. And you can also take a look at the book Cognitive Load Theory. This book, chapter 3 specifically, does address schema. Now, you may be wondering how schema has anything to do with cognitive load and cognitive load theory. I owe you that explanation next.